item on January 29th, 2025. The CRRMA Board of Directors will now, now come to order. Would you call roll, please? Hi, Sissy.
Yes, sir. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Reyes.
Here.
Ms. Bird.
Here.
Ms. Masters.
Here.
And online, Ms. Wilson
Here.
and Ms. Bettis.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
We got a super quorum. Are there any public comments?
None received.
Okay. All right, item number 2, adoption of minutes of the board meeting of December 11th, 2024. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
A second.
Any discussion, corrections, additions, deletions? Sign language?
I'm good.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Presentation, discussion, and action on fiscal year 2024 audited financial report. So,
Mr. Vice Chair, if we could we push this item a bit? We're waiting on an individual from our outside
we
audit
can do
firm.
that too. So we will go on and push that till a later time.
Thank you.
Item number 4, discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing the execution of a management services agreement with the City of El Paso.
Okay, good morning. Raymond Tejas, Executive Director of the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority. This item, as read into the record, is the management agreement that we have with the City of El Paso. This is the agreement that establishes the roles and responsibilities of each party as it relates to the city providing support to the RMA. So in this agreement that we renew previously each 5 years, it is coming up due in March, so this is another renewal. But this is the agreement that establishes the office space for the Regional Mobility Authority, the access to employees, and everything that we need to operate. So just as part of your backup, we have a draft of the current agreement. I would note a couple of things that are proposed to be changed in this version. We do have a longer term. Normally, historically, we'd always had 5-year terms. We're looking to extend that to 10 in this one. We've got language in there that adds the new employee that we've been discussing. So that would be included in there, and office space for that potential new RMA employee. There's some clarified language as it relates to investment services being provided by the City of El Paso and renewed points of contact. And then lastly, the 2 items that are still being reviewed by the City of El Paso are requests made by the Regional Mobility Authority, and those include 1, the RMA has requested to utilize City Council chambers again for our meetings, for videotaping and all that sort of thing. So that's a request that's being reviewed by the city right now. And a second request is to confirm the location of RMA offices to be located in either City 1, City 2, or City 3, so to formalize that. Those 2 items are the outstanding items, and we're waiting to hear back from the city on those. But everything else is as you find in your backup. So with that, I would recommend approval of this item, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, on all those items that are pending, are there any contentious issues or what is going on?
No, those 2 items, they're not contentious. It's just that the city has not agreed to them just yet. And so the RMA is asking specifically that we be authorized to utilize city council chambers, and so that has not been agreed to yet, by way of example.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So Raymond, if they don't agree to that, then I think we should have some flexibility with regard to this live videotaping stuff, because, you know, a lot of times they start changing rooms on us and making us adjust because they need the conference room. So if they're restricting where we can meet, I do think they should give us some flexibility that in those instances where we can't meet, where we have access to IT services for the live streaming, that we're allowed to record.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm looking at that because I think the requirement from that comes from the original creation document. So I don't know, they're not within our bylaws that we have the authority to revise. But let me take another moment to look at that
I
again
mean,
and see.
if it's the statute at the state, it's one thing, then I'll withdraw it. But if it's not, and if it's the city's policy, then, I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am.
if it's statutorily in whatever our creation, then fine, but it's kind of, you
Understood.
can't have it both ways. You can't tell us we got to do stuff and not give us access to the resources to do it, to make it difficult to meet.
Yes, ma'am. Understood. And I've pitched that to the city in terms of the reason why we incorporated it into this draft. So I think they understand the request. And as soon
Okay.
as I hear back, I'll let you all know.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Has there been any indication that there's a reluctance to approve them, or?
Well, there has been. So some time ago, if you remember when we used to meet in city council chambers, then they moved all of their committees outside of the council chambers. I'm not exactly sure as to why or what caused that. But we've asked a couple of times in the interim to go back to council chambers for the exact reasons that Ms. Wilson noted. And they've said that committee meetings will not be held in council chambers. So this is a new request, a more direct request within and you know, we are a different type of agency. We're not an advisory committee to the city.
Right.
We are a very different organization. So we're asking for reconsideration.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other boards that are requesting to be back in there, in that room?
I don't know, honestly.
Oh, I was just curious.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, any further comments?
No, I'll move to approve.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. All right, item number 5, discussion and action of board resolution authorizing the amendment of a work authorization number 46 with Atkins Realis USA, Inc. for construction phase services on the Weiler Aerial Tramway Phase 1 project.
Okay, this one's exciting. This is the next step in the Weiler project. As you know, we've broken that project into 3 distinct components. We've got Phase 1, Phase 2, and the tram itself. Phase 1, the component of Phase 1 is now, we just had our kickoff meeting yesterday, and this item before you today is the last item necessary to get our team together. So this item amends work authorization number 46 with Atkins Realis. That brings them on board. As a reminder, they were the design firm for this particular project. So this brings them on board to provide design services during construction. So if and when the construction contractor has any questions of the design plans, this is the contract that we utilize to provide those answers. So subject to your questions, I would recommend approval.
And who's our rep here for Atkins?
Cesar Nevares is here
Oh,
from
okay.
Atkins.
Okay. All right, so do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Okay, item number 6, discussion and action on board resolution authorizing the execution of the following instruments as they relate to the submission of grant application to TxDOT's 2025 Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program. A, Howard Low Drive Project. Do I need to read the subparagraphs? Item number 1A1, interlocal agreement with the town of Horizon City, and A2, work authorization number 8 with HNTB Corporation. And item B, Alamo Alto Trail Phase 4 project. 1, the interlocal agreement with the county, El Paso County, and 2, work authorization number 10 with HNTB Corporation. So we have, Raymond, you want to take over on that?
Yes, sir. Thank you for reading that into the records quite a bit. These 2 items are related. As you may recall, some time ago, we pulled down grant funding from the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization. They have a program called Transportation Alternative Set Aside. There is a statewide component that TxDOT manages as well. And so that's what we're talking about today, not the MPO's version where we pull down funds for Sun Cycle, but this is the statewide grant program. And in this instance, they now have a call for projects out there, and in coordination with a couple of our partners, including Horizon City and the County of El Paso, we're looking at submitting grant application for 2 projects. So as you read into the record, that first item is Howard Low Drive. This is a project within Horizon City, and it's essentially a shared use path, walking trail improvements just off of Horizon Boulevard that would feed into our Rodman Trail that we're developing as well, and there's another trail in there as well. So this is an improvement project that Horizon City would like to pursue. And so what you see here then under 6A1 is the interlocal agreement with the town of Horizon City where they would provide the funding, and we agree to develop these grant application documents. Then under 6A2, that's where we bring on HNTB as one of our general engineering consultant teams, and we're actually tasking them with developing these grant application documents. And so they'll do the work for us under 6A2. So that's what we've got under Howard Low under 6A. 6B is a very similar approach. This is for Alamo Alto Trail Phase 4. As you may recall, we are developing the Paso del Norte Trail, Alamo Alto Phases 1, 2, and 3 with the county. 1 is in Fabens, 2 is in Tornillo, 3 connects Fabens and Tornillo, and then Phase 4 that we're talking about under 6B would go from Tornillo east outside to the county line. So this, again, same approach. 6B1 is an interlocal with the county where they would provide the funding for us to do this work. And 6B2 is the work authorization with HNTB as our general engineering consultant team to actually do the work. So subject to your questions, I would recommend approval of all of these items, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I've got one question. So these don't go through the MPO, they go straight to the state, is that correct?
The funding source is the state. So the state would do the review and potential approvals of the grant applications. Now, ultimately, the funding comes through the region and through the MPO, but this is a pot of money that is controlled by the state, as opposed to the Sun Cycle bucket of money that we were awarded directly by the MPO. That's the distinction.
Have we done any others on this model?
No, sir. No, this is the first time we've done this approach.
So the state gives the money to, like Horizon City, and then they ask us to do the work, or the HNTB Corporation does the work,
Well,
but it's paid through the state to Horizon to,
no, ma'am. So what we're doing here is we are using local funds from under, say, 6A, Howard Low.
okay,
Horizon City is providing their local funds to us
Okay.
to draft the grant application.
all right,
And so we'll submit that grant application on their behalf. If we are successful, then the state would provide those funds, just as you mentioned. So we're one step out. We're applying and we're providing application support. And if we're successful, then the state would provide those funds to Horizon City. And I suspect we would be asked to help develop the design and construction activities as well.
okay.
That's the hope.
This is the first time we've used this model, this avenue?
We have supported grant applications before, but not quite like this. Yeah.
All right, you want to take these all together or one at a time?
Altogether works.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we've had any questions on the Alamo Alto Trail? I think that's pretty straightforward. My question on that is, what happens when we eventually get to the county line?
Then the program ends. So the Paso del
Fall
Norte.
off the edge of the earth? Or?
That's right. We end, I think the intention is to provide through travelers, so cyclists and that sort of thing that are on 10 right now, they'd be able to drop off of 10, but at the county line, they'd be on 10 again.
That Hotspur is the one that would take it up from there?
That's right. And I don't know that they have any plans. I'll tell you, on the west side, New Mexico has plans to run a trail all the way up the river, and so they would pick up from our Paso del Norte trail at the river and head north. But I don't think there's any plans
The other way.
heading east outside of this
Yeah,
county
not
limits.
Too many people out that way.
Okay. Any further questions on those items? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I so move.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, item number 7. Discussion and action on board resolution authorizing the execution of amendments to the following instruments as they relate to the Tornillo Guadalupe Port of Entry Study. A, an interlocal agreement with El Paso County, and B, work authorization number 65 to Atkins. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we're talking about item 7. Sorry, I got sidetracked there for a second. Okay, so this project, we've got a couple of amendments proposed under item number 7. So we're looking to amend the underlying interlocal agreement with the County of El Paso to clarify the permitted uses of the funds that they provided. And all of this relates to a couple of changes that the county has requested under the agreement. So let me take it back a step. The intent of this project is that the county is looking for a study to identify how to make the Tornillo Port of Entry more useful to folks. So they're really talking about trying to increase usage. And so one of the things that they've asked of us is this study. The study would identify what would make it more attractive to logistics providers and that sort of thing. However, what they've asked for now is specific activities to gather that information within Mexico. And so what you see under item 7A then is certain revisions to clarify that the use of the funds that they've granted us are permitted to be used in Mexico. So they're talking about having breakfast meetings with logistic companies and that sort of thing. So that's what you see under item 7A, clarification. Item 7B then clarifies the public relations outreach activities that are being provided to include work in Mexico, and then clarify some of that language as well in terms of permitted uses. So that's really what this is. It's a bit of housekeeping to clarify the intended use and to allow for work in Mexico. So subject to your questions, I would recommend approval of this item.
Okay, my question on that is this the first time we've had to have authorization and funding to deal with Mexico on projects?
Yes, sir.
You got a couple firsts here today, buddy.
Yes, sir. We're trying to keep you on your toes. This is the first time we'll be operating in Mexico on a project. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, a second.
I'll second it.
Have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item number 8, discussion and action on board resolution authorizing the execution of amendments to the following instruments as they relate to the El Paso County Transit Facility Project. A, work authorization number 2 with HDR Engineering, Inc., and B, work authorization number 58 with Atkins.
Okay. This project, as you may recall, relates to the support that we're providing to the County of El Paso to identify a location for their new county transit facility. This would be a maintenance and operation facility. So we're helping them to identify the location, we're helping them to do the right-of-way acquisition for that parcel, and then we ultimately will help design and construct the facility for them. Initially, we had understood from the county that the right-of-way acquisition process would be a lot more or a lot less detailed than it turns out it's going to be. So what you see under item 8A and 8B are revisions to the underlying, or revisions to the support agreements that we have. So under 8A, we brought on HDR Engineering to provide the engineering support in the right-of-way and design activities. Well, because the right-of-way acquisition process, and in particular the environmental steps required to acquire those parcels, are much more in-depth than originally anticipated, we have to increase the scope and the fee for those activities. And that's what you see under item 8A. HDR will provide those additional environmental services as noted in 8A. 8B then provides additional oversight from Atkins, serving as one of our general engineering consultant teams. So whenever we bring on HDR or another engineering firm to provide design and environmental services, we bring on Atkins to provide oversight of their activity. So when you see an increase under 8A for HDR, you'll also see an increase under 8B for Atkins to provide the additional oversight services. So that's what you see. These numbers, scope and fee have been reviewed and approved by the county, and they are within the existing budget that was identified within the interlocal that we have with the county. So the county is supportive of these items. So with that, I would recommend approval of item 8.
El Paso County, you have any comments on this?
We do not have a
No,
representative from the
don't have a
county
rep.
with us
Okay.
today.
Right now is the Texas Transportation Forum, and I know that Mr. Fino with Atkins is attending, and I believe Mr. Reed with the county, who's normally here, is attending that in Austin right now.
So my question here is, did we run into an environmental issue here, and are we?
No, sir. The county originally thought that we would be granted environmental approval under a specific process, but that's not the case. It's just a much more detailed requirement. We didn't find anything. There's no environmental concerns that we've identified. It's just that the process is much more detailed than originally anticipated.
Okay. Any further discussion, questions? Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move. This is Joyce.
Have a motion and a second,
I'll second.
and a second from Sissy. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item
Raymond,
num-
the auditor is on now. Did you want to go back to that, or are you going to go take a break somewhere else? I don't want to keep them on unnecessarily.
Certainly, we can do that. Would you like to? The auditor is now online, if you'd like
Oh,
to.
doing it online, okay, yes. All right,
Hi, Vanessa.
let's go back to that.
You're muted.
Okay. Item number 3, presentation and discussion on the audited financial report.
Real quick, Robert Studer, Director of Finance for the record. The board, on your backup, there's a letter from the auditor that's, I believe, highlighted as fiscal year, and then the audited financial report is the second link that you can go to for your backup. We do have with us today Vanessa Alarcon online to provide the report, and we also have Sonia Sanchez, who did the day-to-day and keeps me buttoned up. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Alarcon.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have the fiscal year 2024 report prepared. We have an unmodified opinion, both for the financial audit as well as the single audit. The authority did have both federal funds and state funds over the threshold requiring an audit, so both those opinions were clean as well. We have no findings. And there was also a loose letter provided to you all, I believe also as a link, and that letter has no management comments. We had a few minor verbal items that were discussed with management, but nothing that is not going to take too long to clear up, and I believe one of them is already being brought to the board today to clean one of those items up, but nothing all of these items were minor. We'll get started on the financials. As you all know, there's a deficit net position in the statement of net position on page, let's see. On page 14. And that's because of the unusual structure, the partnerships that the authority makes to ensure that there's funding mechanisms. So really, that deficit net position is because we've got committed pledged revenues from your vehicle registration bonds that will be received in future years to pay off the existing debt that's already on your balance sheet. And so that's the main reason for that net deficit position. But it did improve over the prior year. You all did finish paying off the last SIB loan with the monies that were advanced by the city in the prior year. There was 2 paid off last year, and the final one paid off during the 2024 fiscal year. And then you all did defease some debt by doing a refunding. So you issued Series 2024 and defeased a portion of the 2014 bonds to result in a net savings overall to the authority. The changes in your assets and your liabilities are mainly due to the advancement of funds for the different projects. So the cash was received, but since those projects are ongoing and they're to pay down future expenditures on those projects, they're still in unearned revenue. So those are the major changes on your balance sheet, on your statement of net position. The next statement, statement of revenues and expenses, the changes in net position on page 15. There we have a decrease in your operating revenues, and that's mostly because of last year being one of those outliers as far as receiving that large 40 million from the city that was advanced to pay down the SIB loans. So this year, the revenues went down. But there is a lot of progress going on. In 2024, the authority started to go into the construction phase for some of the projects that were entered into, versus the year before, it was more in a design phase. And so that activity has also picked up. And then anything that the authority bills, any of these projects, either they're transferred out as the project is ongoing, or they're transferred out at the completion of the project. So you'll see at the bottom of the statement on page 15, about 26 million was transferred out into the different entities that you have projects going on with. And the details that break down that 26 million, you could look at note 15 on page 37 to see that. Interest income was improved over the prior year. The authority did move its cash and some of its investments out of T-bills into the money market, so better yields were earned on that. And let's see, anything else different this year? Other than that, I think the two other main issues that still remain pending, and there's note disclosures for them, is the toll agreement that still needs to be official, so that we can remove those deferred monies out of the balance sheet. And then also the other item is the legal matter with the vendor on the project for the bankruptcy and what that outcome will be. So at this time, there isn't, for the claim that was made, there is no amount on your balance sheet for that. There's nothing been accrued. There's been a small amount for the initial project that we still have outstanding, but other than that, right now it's just more of a wait and see of what's going to happen with the judge and how that process is going to turn out. So there's just note disclosures for those two items. Other than that, that's really the last thing I can point out to you all, which is actually one of the first things that I look at on the financials, is just making sure that there's enough pledged revenues versus the debt that you all had, which I believe is page 30. So if you wanted to jot this down, or page 30, which is on note 8, the authority brought in 6.9 million of special vehicle registration fees, but its debt service payments were 6.1 million, so well below the fees that are coming in. So the debt is still being covered there. So that's all we have. Really, Robert and Raymond do a good job. The management discussion analysis provides a very thorough analysis of the statements as well, and gives a breakdown of the different projects going on, projects that already we're done with, we've completed, and projects that are now starting out. And so that's also very helpful. And they've just been very cooperative throughout this process. They give us what we need, and so the audit goes smoothly. So, are there any questions?
Okay. Sissy, you got any comments from the Finance Committee?
Only thing I have to say is, like she was saying about how Raymond and Robert, every meeting that we have, and one good thing about our committee, we always meet. So therefore, and we go over in detail every single item, so that when it comes around to the audit, we truly understand what is our mission as far as reviewing it. And I think Robert and Raymond did an excellent job, and I want to thank the audit committee for doing a wonderful job. We met with them yesterday, and so I'm very pleased with everybody.
Okay. Any other comments?
Thank you, Sissy.
Any comments, Joyce?
You're welcome.
No, I don't have any questions. I skimmed through it. Good job, everybody. Do we need to accept it, Robert?
Yes, ma'am. I would greatly appreciate a motion and a second to accept the audit.
Okay.
So
all
I'll
right.
move to do that. I'll move to accept the audit.
Okay,
I'll
we
second it.
We have a motion, we have a second, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vanessa.
And thank you for
Good to see
the,
you.
to our auditors and to our staff. This is pretty amazing stuff. I mean, you sit there and look through all of this and the pieces of it, and thank you to our finance committee for doing the level of detail that you do to keep these two guys on their toes as well. And thank you to our auditors. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good job to everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, so now we are on item 10? 9.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing the execution of an amendment to the interlocal agreement with El Paso County for the Fabens Airport Fuel Farm and AWOS project. Remind me, AWOS?
Yes, sir. Automated Weather Observing
Okay,
System.
all right.
Yes, sir. So this relates to the County of El Paso's Fabens Airport. This project is, it's got two pieces to it. It's got the AWOS, the Automated Weather Observing System, that we have awarded for construction. So that is under construction now, and it had the fuel farm. So we designed both of those components for the county. And what you see before you under item 9 then is the county providing the construction funds necessary to advance this now from design into construction. So very exciting next step for this. You will likely see either next month or the following, you'll see the companion agreements to actually commence the construction activities, or the procurement and that sort of thing. So, but again, item 9 then provides the construction funding from the county to the RMA. So I would recommend approval.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I so move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 I think, just as a side comment from me, I think this whole project there, out there at the Fabens Airport and all the different items and all the different issues and initiatives that are going on out there, I think that's really cool. I mean, it
Agreed.
really is.
Yes, sir.
Okay, item number 10, discussion and action on board resolutions authorizing the execution of amendments to the following instruments as they relate to the Tierra Este Road project. A, interlocal agreement with El Paso County, and B, work authorization number 1 with Gannett Fleming, Inc.
Okay, these revisions are necessary due to additional utility coordination that's required. So this is a project that we are designing for the County of El Paso. Eventually we'll move into construction, but we've run into quite a few utility issues. So additional utility coordination was required. So under item 10A, you've got an amendment to the interlocal agreement with the county where they're providing additional funding for this additional utility coordination. And then item 10B is the work authorization with the design firm Gannett Fleming, formerly known as Dannenbaum Engineering. They are providing the design services, and they will actually do that additional utility coordination. So subject to your questions, I would recommend approval of this item as well.
Okay, so any questions or clarification needed? I'm glad you mentioned the Gannett Fleming name change, so, because I didn't know that, or at least I forgot it. So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll approve.
I'll move.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, presentation discussion on change orders recently approved by the Executive Director for the Fabens Airport Hangar Project. Hangars, excuse me.
Yes, sir. We've got a quick PowerPoint for you all on this one. As a reminder, you will have seen an email from me, I think it was last week, on these items. As a reminder, there's a resolution that was passed some time ago that grants the Executive Director authority to authorize certain change orders. There are 3 of them in this month's presentation for you. They all deal with the Fabens Airport Hangar Expansion Project. These were prior change orders that you see on the screen. The new change orders include 7, 8, and 9. There's additional structural steel that was required in the total amount of $76,800. That was approved by me last week. And incidentally, I should note, the authorization granted by the board says that if a change order is over, I can approve change orders up to $100,000. However, if it's over $50,000, I have to let you know immediately. And that's what the email was about this last week. So you'll see an email for item number 7 and number 9 because they both exceed $50,000. And then item number 8 was just under $6,000, and does not require immediate notification, but at the very next board meeting, that's the presentation I'm giving. So these are 3 additional change orders as noted. I will mention it's quite a bit of change orders up to number 9. However, we're still at 2.14% in change orders against the total project cost. So we're still doing fine on that. Happy to answer any questions, but and in fact, no action is necessary. These change orders have been approved. Incidentally, I would mention, because this is a County of El Paso project, they review and approve any change order before it even comes to me. So it comes to me with a blessing of the County of El Paso. That goes for these 3 as well. So the county is supportive of these, and these have been executed. So no action required, just for your information.
Any questions?
What's a fur-out wall? What does that mean?
Yeah. Cesar, can I ask you to come up and address that? They explained it to me without that term, because I'm not familiar with that term either.
Good morning, board members. For the record, Cesar Navarez, Atkins Reales. The fur-out, essentially, it's where the wall is, it comes in with the pipes, providing service for water, the sinks and all that. Essentially, it was asked to be widened a little bit more, and this is a fabricator's request.
Okay, description of what it is basically is you have a wall, you can't penetrate it, you have to run stuff in the outside of it.
Oh.
The fur out covers it up so it looks pretty.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Atkins may be looking to you for a new employee.
That I understood.
Thank you. So no action required on these items.
Okay? Okay, item number 12, discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing submission of an annual compliance report to TxDOT.
This is required each year. There are a couple of requirements that TxDOT has for regional mobility authorities throughout the year, and one of them is a compliance report. So as part of your backup, you'll see the report in terms of what is required for us to certify each year. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but this is a routine item that's required each year. In fact, these compliance reports are required to be reviewed and approved by the board. So that's why it's before you today. Happy to answer any questions, but would recommend approval.
Okay?
Is there anything unusual in this report from previous years?
No, ma'am. It includes certifications like the annual budget was adopted timely, the annual audit was completed timely, that sort of thing. So all of those certifications are in there and appropriate.
Okay?
Perfect. I'll move to approve if there are no other questions.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. This is
I have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Okay, so item number 13, discussion and action on the following reports for the first quarter of fiscal year 2025. A, interim financial statement. B, investment report. C, El Paso Bike Share Sun Cycle Program. And D, general engineering consultant teams, use of local resources.
Good morning, Robert Studer. The Finance Committee met yesterday. We had all three members present, and we spent time on each of these reports after we reviewed the audit. I do not think there's anything noteworthy in talking with the committee that needs to be brought before you, so I would just ask for a motion to accept the reports.
Are we going to take them all at one time? Or
Yes,
are
sir.
they all, okay, they all together? Okay. Any questions on these, or is there anything, Sissy, any comments you want to make on those, any of those?
No, I think we're good with this one.
Okay. Any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I so move.
Any second?
I'll second, this is
I
Lee.
have motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 14. Staff reports, remainder of officer elections, and B, status of Pelicano Drive widening project.
A couple of quick updates for you. As a reminder, each February, the board does officer elections. The officers include the vice chair, the treasurer, and the secretary. So just a reminder.
And the alternate secretary, thank you very much.
Yes, of course. As you know, Mr. Studer is our alternate secretary, so he's trying to protect his position.
Right.
But those elections do happen each February. So just a reminder that that will be coming up for your action next month.
Raymond, I thought we were
I
going
have a
to
question.
not have a meeting next month because this one was so late.
Yes, ma'am, that's right. Thanks for pointing that out. The intention is not to have one. I will ask for a special meeting if anything comes up between now and mid-February, but the intention is because this one is so late, we will not have a February. So that pushes our
And so
officer
so
election.
we would deal with this in March, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just
Yes.
make sure it's posted, and between now and then, I'll reach out to see who's interested and has the time to commit.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And so that's just a reminder. And then on Pelicano, I thought I'd give you all an update. I briefed Commissioners Court last week, and so just a couple of quick updates. We had I suppose they're calling it a mini trial back 2 weeks ago on January 13th, 14th, and 15th in the bankruptcy court. As a reminder, we filed a declaratory judgment action against the trustee, asking for the judge to determine ultimately that the default that we declared against JAR Construction was proper. That would alleviate the issue that we're having with the surety, who has refused to restart construction because of the claim that the default was improper. So that's why we filed that back in January of 2024. We've been going through proceedings with the bankruptcy judge ever since. We've had at least 2 separate hearings, and then most recently we had another hearing about 2 weeks ago in January 13th, 14th, 15th. That one was much more limited in scope, so we're getting towards the end of this process, thankfully. We did meet with the judge, had several witnesses and that sort of thing. Ultimately, in the end, that's the end of the testimony. The trustee had submitted a brief prior to that hearing. The RMA's brief is due today, and then there will be one final brief due from the trustee 2 weeks from today. That will conclude this process, and the judge will be ready to rule at that point. He has indicated that he is, because he's broken this project into so many different pieces, that he should be ready to rule shortly thereafter. So we believe the end is near, hopefully. And so that's a bit of good news, is that briefing is almost done, and the judge should be able to rule. So that's primary piece in terms of the bankruptcy court. And then as a reminder, we have this interim fix that we've been pursuing. This is the idea that although the surety is not willing to advance any of their own funds to get the project back to work until the question of the default is resolved, we've asked them directly if they would utilize the available project funds to get something done. So as a reminder, we repackaged the design plans. gave those to the surety company some time ago. They put that out on the street. They've received bids now. And in fact, they just shared those bids with us, I believe Monday or Tuesday of this week. So we're reviewing those now. And the hope is that we'll be able to collect, or jointly, cooperatively with the surety, award to a completion contractor to utilize the remaining available funds in this interim phase while we wait for the judge's ruling on the ultimate question of the default. So we're hopeful that we can do something with that, but we are reviewing those bids now, and we'll begin talking with the surety on the takeover agreement shortly thereafter. So that's where we are. I'm happy we have one of our attorneys on standby should you want to go into executive session to discuss in more detail the trial or any of the legal pieces, but ultimately that's the update that I have to share with you.
Okay, on
Is
the
there- I'm sorry, go ahead.
on the surface, I don't see any need to go into executive session. I think that's a pretty clear update. The nitty-gritty details, if you need to share anything with us, any of those details, I think you had indicated before that's appropriate for us to get that in writing if it need be. But I think it's pretty straightforward, and I don't think we need to beat that drum to death. Joyce, any comments on that?
No, I agree with you. My question was, is there really a need to go and drill down any further? The only comment I would make is as soon as you hear something, I would appreciate if you just let us know
Yes, ma'am.
immediately, particularly since we're not going to meet until March, I think the 12th the date is, or whatever it is.
Yes, ma'am. As soon as we get a ruling, you'll be the first to know.
Okay. And I'd also like to know if you would notify us when you've looked at the bids and you've got one that you think's good.
Yes, ma'am.
So, will we have to approve that before you could do anything with it?
Well, you would approve the takeover agreement. Ultimately, the contract would be between the surety and the contractor, but we would
Okay.
need to execute a takeover agreement before they could enter into their agreement.
All right, and we could do that on the 12th. I don't want to delay that, so if we need to meet just on that item,
Yes, ma'am.
maybe we could do a quick special meeting just on that.
Yes, ma'am. We've got that and a couple other items out there that could force a special meeting, but if not, then we'll wait. We'll hold until March.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
I see no further business on the agenda. Is that correct statement there, Mr. Tejas?
Yes, sir. You are correct. That's
Okay.
all I have for you.
If so, it is now exactly 0950, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I'll move.
Okay?
I'll second.
Wait a minute, question?
Have we heard anything else about the new members for our board?
For the what? New members?
Replacements.
Actually, we heard from the city yesterday. They are looking at that now with the new mayor. So I should mention, actually, there are 3 of you that are up for reappointment or replacement. It's Mr. Smith, Mr. Reyes, and Ms. Enriquez. Those are the 3. But I would note also, though, however, that Ms. Perez, if you remember, when you were appointed last time, you were appointed incorrectly for a 2-year term. So you're actually up with this group as well. So I would recommend that each of you reach out to the mayor's office and let them know if you're interested in continuing.
But Jim, don't get too happy. You're till September.
Excuse me?
I told you don't get too happy because I think yours expires in September.
I'm gonna fall off the edge, like the trail at the end of the county. I'm gonna fall off the edge here
I
pretty
think we
quick.
need to write something to extend
Okay.
that. All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so now, that took exactly 2 minutes. So now it's 0952, and it is, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay.